So hello everybody, it's me again, and today we're doing part 2 of this look. You probably have already seen part 1, which are the eyes, where did the smoky eye, and this is part 2, where I wanted to show you the face. And I did a version of this face that is very long lasting. I don't do this every single day. I do this version of my face when I go clubbing, when I go to work, when I just know I won't be able to touch up my makeup for the whole day. And it has always worked for me, so I really hope this works for you too. I have to say, I do not have oily skin or dry skin. I'm a little bit of combination skin, even though I would say I'm more normal. There are just few days when I get a little bit oily on my T-zone, but not often. So you probably need to use other products that are suited for your skin type and not for mine. And with the powder, I just do normal powder on my face and baking. Here, you maybe need, I don't bake on my nose or stuff, or on my little area above the lip, or on my chin. Maybe if you're really oily, you need to do that. Just, you know, kind of do it the way it suits your skin and not mine, because that would probably not work for you. Okay, so really hope you enjoy this video. Let's go. First, what I'm doing is priming my face. I like to use the KVD Lock primer because this gets really sticky and it gives me the feeling of making my foundation stick to my face, not coming off, which it really doesn't. And since I'm going to use the MARC JACOBS Remarkable foundation, I found that it always creases on my chin area and my nose area. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the Painterly Paint Pot and using this on my chin and my nose. I found that this really helps to elongate my makeup time, well, the time that my makeup's. So next up, we're going to put on foundation, just normally. Sometimes I do use a pore filler, but today I didn't. That's also why I already put on the paint pot. So for my foundation, as I already mentioned, I'm using MARC JACOBS Remarkable. I really love this foundation because this is a full coverage foundation. But the thing is, it's not like other full coverage foundations like Born This Way or All Nighter. They, in my opinion, are really creamy. This one is very water-based. It feels like pure liquid. It is full on coverage, and you know, with that, since it's so water-based, it doesn't look like you have anything on your face, and that, in my opinion, is very rare for a full coverage foundation. The only thing is, you don't have to use that much. You actually have to use very little. So 3 dots on one cheek are actually enough, but one dot for nose or 1 dot for chin is actually too much. So what I'm doing here is I put on more on every cheek, like 4 to 5 dots, and then just blend this out further. I also noticed that this is distributed better with a brush, but I'm using the Beauty Blender on top of it because it gives it that airbrushed finish that I think brush can reach that level of airbrushed, not as much as the Beauty Blender. So next up we will be doing concealer, and I am using a full coverage concealer. I think you're going to notice that it didn't cover all my under eyes. I didn't really see that in the natural lighting, but I noticed that you can see it on here. So I'm sorry for that. I'm not very fan of color correcting because in my opinion my under eyes are not as dark enough to be using that. So I'm just using the NARS Creamy Radiant Concealer, I think it's called, in the color Chantilly. I think it's the lightest one because it's written light 1 on top of it. I'm also using, first I want to explain you this, I'm sorry. So I'm using this little blender brush to put it right in the corners of my eyes where my nose is, because I think it just works better. I didn't ever try a mini beauty blender, but this concealer is so full coverage. If I use my normal size beauty blender to blend those corners out, I always notice that they take away some of my makeup, my eyeshadow, my makeup look on the eyes. So yes, what I wanted to say, I can't remember now. I'm sorry. I wanted to say something about the concealer. Anyways, I'm just blending this out with a beauty blender, and I remember now I did put concealer also on my jawline because the MARC JACOBS foundation is a little bit too dark for me. It's actually my summer color. Yes, that's the most tan I get. I'm not getting very tan. So this one actually is my perfect skin shade. So I like to do it, to put it on there so you can really see the difference between my neck
and my face, and it also gives you that little bit of highlight and contour. Now we're going to bake. I'm using Kat Von D, I think it's called Locket Setting Powder. I don't know, the name is not written on top of it, so I don't know. I really love this powder because it's very finely milled and it has a little bit of shimmer to it. And now what I like to do that my concealer really doesn't crease and stays on all day is I really push it into my skin. As you can see here, you can hardly see the loose powder at first, and also blend it out, because I found out that if you don't blend this Kat Von D one out, you can see where the powder was. And then just placing more on top of it, now as much as my eyeshadow. And now I'm going to put on normal face powder. This is MAC Studio Fix face powder. And to make your makeup last, I would recommend you using a powder cast. I don't know how you say this in English, I'm sorry. To really just press the powder in. That makes your foundation stay so much longer than it usually would, or if you use a powder brush, because also with a powder brush you tend to do circular motions and then you just move the product that you already did underneath, that you were already content with. So taking the bake off here, and with this one, as I mentioned, it can stain your foundation, so I really have to go in, brush everything off, but it's so beautiful because the little glitter particles in it gives you that nice glowy look. So I also like to use this powder on my whole face, but not today. I'm just going to contour. I'm using this flat kabuki brush. It's by Sephora. I love this brush. And the NYX Contour Palette. This one is in the color Sculpt. Now my brush is starting to lose hair. This brush is so old, I would give it like 8 years. And it's still going strong. Losing some brushes, how do you call them? These are not brushes. Losing some brush hairs, I think. But it's still going strong. And I really love this to blend out my contour. And I did my brows in the meantime while I was setting my powder. And with this flat brush, I'm taking the color Hollow just to cut my cheekbones a little more. And then blending this upwards. And then we're just going to do some nose contour as well, but this time with Sculpt again, because I don't want to go as dark on my nose. And also with a very small blending brush, just a little bit on the sides of my nose. I didn't do anything fancy. I just did the normal down the bridge of my nose and then a little bit up front, because it gives you that little, tipped nose effect if you put contour on there. That will be blush. You will notice that you can't really see my blush color on my face, and that's because I do have a lot of redness in my skin, and I often do color correct with a blue primer, so I don't really see the sense in getting rid of all the red just to put it back on. So I just like to go with a very light blush color. Now for highlight, I'm using Pearl by BECCA. I love this one because it's kind of similar to, what's it called? Mary Luminizer. It's not that glittery, but it's more white, so it suits my skin tone actually better than not Cindy, but Mary Luminizer does. I'm taking this just straight down my cheekbones with the fan brush, and then a bit on the tip of my nose, but not where I put the contour on. So this is actually a little bit higher than my actual tip of the nose is, and also my Cupid's bow. Yes, that was the highlighter part. And now we're going to I did my lips in the meantime. We're going to set our face with some setting spray. And this trick I learned from Nikki Tutorials. Just put your setting spray on and then dust it with some paper so it stays on much longer.
Okay, this was part 2 and now we're finished with this whole look. If you haven't seen part 1, I'm going to link it down below. I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, have a nice day and see you next time.